Ladies and gentlemen, we finally have a roster for the Summer Send-Off Series. Alliteration to its highest degree for the women's national team of Canada. Here are the players who will be playing Mexico and Montreal and Toronto. We have Simia Wujo, Janine Becky, Kadisha Buchanan, Gabrielle Carl, Sabrina D'Angelo, what? Jessie Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Julia Grosso, Jordan Huitema, Chloe Lacasse, Clarissa Larce, Ashley Lawrence, Adriana Leon, Nichelle Prince, Lucienne Pro, Emma Regan, Jade Riviere, Jade Rose, Deanne Rose, Desiree Scott, Kaylin Sheridan, Olivia Smith, Evelyn Viens, excuse me, and Shalina Zadorsky. Now, of course, everyone, this is a thing we do all the time. First reaction is, who got left off? Marie-Yasmin Alidou gets left off. I will go back to the tweet of all tweets that I've made, which is, can't be surprised when a vegan drives by Swiss Chalet. Now, different people are having different conversations. And I remember we had this conversation with Alidou post-World Cup, or pre-World Cup, which was, well, you're getting ready for a World Cup. And then the conversation there too, okay, well, after the World Cup, she'll be definitely a big part of the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, then it was, no, after the World Cup, the Olympics came, and she's not really part of it. To be very frank, this feels like a conversation where you say, no, I think you can't be critical of consistency. And consistently placed, the way that Bev rates right now, Alidou, is that she's probably that 26th to 28th player on the roster. And this happens in international football. We have a player who peaks wrong place, right time, or right place, wrong time. Right. And it feels like Alidou is hitting her stride right now at a time where, well, where do you want to put her? She's behind most of the 8/10s. She's also behind most of the 9s. So there isn't really room for her. And plus, you're seeing younger players come through. I think we may end up seeing Alidou as a player who maybe gets capped a couple times and that's their career. Not because they aren't good, but because the priorities place in different spots. I'm not really upset about it anymore because at the end of the day, it's consistently being shown. So I'm not going to be like, why can't this player play? I've already made my comments. It is interesting, though. I will say this, that Bev did make a point to say there's no loyalty. Was trying to move away from players that she's familiar with. While looking at the roster, it's like, well, you're picking a player who's played, not even a match in a year and a half. And this is nothing against Desiree Scott. So I saw that statement and I saw the list. I was like, something's not mixing and matching. But now, I think one of the more interesting players to take a look at here is Emma Regan. She has a great opportunity to really show that she can sit in this lineup. With no Quinn, they are still recovering. And based off what Beth Priestman said in her presser, it'll be a very close call whether or not they'll be ready for the Olympics. And if that's the case, I would much rather let them rest personally. And this is primarily with the PTSD of the World Cup, where Bev brought players who weren't fully fit, but they were her players. And then you saw as the tournament went on, you lost the players. And it was like, well, this player isn't as fit, so we're not going to play them. And that's always a conversation. Yes, I know they're who you're familiar with, but in this Olympics, you only have 18 players. Therefore, everyone's going to be playing at some point, right? More than likely, you will be rotating through, right? If you have a deep enough team, you could just rotate your starting 11 every game and then make 3 to 5 subs all the time and have the availability. That means you need players who are going to be available. Yes, injuries can happen, but you'd rather, knocking on all the wood, have a player get injured there than to bring a player that isn't able to play due to injury. So Emma Regan really has a great opportunity to really solidify herself into this roster. You think about players who could do some more. Is Julia Grosso on the bubble for these two games? It's a very good question. I think right now, in terms of the midfielders, I think it's clear Bev does like Simia Wujo and Olivia Smith a little bit ahead with a player like Jessie Fleming, which means, especially if they're going to employ, they're still playing that back three. So if they go in that 3-4-2-1, I think you're fine there. I would love to see kind of what those roaming outside forwards versus striker conversation is, especially since Heidema hasn't played. Now, Heidema was called in, so the assumption being made online is that she is fit to play, but wanted to make sure that she was ready for the national team. I saw that on X today. And if that's the case, that's great. But if not, that's another conversation of, would you be better off seeing another player, or would you be better off giving a longer look at those other players, right? If you're not going to have team players who aren't going to make it, which is the whole Ali Du conversation, that's fine. But then let's get an extended look at Vienne up top. Let's get an extended look at Leon up top. Let's get an extended look at Nichelle Prince up top. Let's get an extended look at Deanna Rose up top. Be sure, and I think that for me is a big thing. Be 100% sure who will be going versus who won't be going in these two games. For me, I'd rather, I am not doing well with words today, guys. I apologize. But to me, I would rather you give players to succeed or give them an opportunity to fail. And if they are able to sink or swim, then you make a decision on the end of the roster there. Because I do think for the most part, that I think the top 12 to 15 is already set. Now it comes down to the last 13 to 18 players, right? That 3 to 5 players at the end. I think the center backs are pretty much there. It's Jade, it's Vanessa, it's Kadisha, and it's Shalina. I think those are your center backs. I think your wing backs are Ashley. It should be, if it's by Bev, it's probably Jade Rivera, but I think they need to consider saying, hey, if we don't have Jade, can we get away with the flexibility of Janine Becky? Janine Becky provides so much more cover now because you can ultimately put her anywhere. So does Becky's availability mean you can go heavier in another position and go lighter somewhere else? I think it does. Now, Jade would probably be the one who starts, but I do think having Janine playing and looking, she's looked good at Portland this year, right? She's looked fully healthy and we're happy to see it. If you do that, then the conversation is players like Sydney Collins, who wasn't called up. Where does she fit in? But I think you go there, and then up top, you go Vienne and Heidema. Those are your nines. And then your two complementary forwards up top, you're looking at Lacasse, Leon, Prince. It gets very fascinating. Then in the midfield, you have, again, Fleming, Awujo, Smith, and more than likely Grosso. This is going to be fascinating to watch. It's 24 players that were called up, and you can easily say, okay, we're cutting down 6, but you're really cutting down another 10 because there's 4 players who are still in the mix who didn't come to this. This will be interesting, guys. Let me know what you think of this roster and the setup. I'm going to take my unable to speak mouth and head out. We'll wrap it up right here.